Yo, what is up, everybody? This is Expanded Understanding, episode number 66. So, we must be in the right place since we have synchronicity even in the title. I appreciate you all being here. I am Zach. Aaron is a little bit late. He's still eating dinner or something like that. And so, it's just me right now. Actually, one second, I forgot to turn my camera on. Be right back. Fixed. Now, I am here. Well, sort of. I'm digitally here with all of you. So I hope you're all having a very wonderful night tonight. I have been extremely busy, really like the last couple days, and just as busy today, doing a lot of basically business planning, and I think, well, at least I very much so feel it inside of kind of, I guess you call it the energy that's in the universe. There's right now, and I've seen a whole lot of like synchronistic posts to these things and stuff like that. That really it's a time where we do need to make sure that we're really like putting our energy towards the things that we really want to be doing and making sure that we're like moving forward effectively. As far as like this channel and stuff goes, I feel like we've established like a really good base here and stuff, but I've been really analyzing just like this thing as a growing idea and really seeing that like where we really need is like outreach and things like this so that we can, you know, kind of touch more people and get more people around here to get their experiences, so on and so forth. So I've been doing a ton of planning of basically stuff like that. I think it's very important to plan properly, especially for business kind of stuff. And really, very much so, like trying to get a message out there is a business thing. Like, it's very much so all the same stuff that you need for running some kind of business. You very much so need the marketing, and you need to be able to reach people, and you need to be able to be relevant and resonant with those people so that they're interested in coming and checking out what you have. And what you have is basically a product. Is the content that you're creating, or the vibe, or the camaraderie, or the community, or whatever it is that you're generating. It very much so is a product that you end up delivering, and so it can be approached exactly the same way as basically planning a business. And I do a lot of like logistical planning for businesses and marketing approaches and other various types of consulting with basically business startups and getting more clients for businesses. But it's also very much so aligned with the idea of getting any kind of message out. And when we are doing that, it's very worthwhile to kind of the same way that we have also with ourselves to look at what people have done before that has been effective, but not really like lock yourself into doing just specifically that per se. So you really want to take that time to kind of research around about like what is working right now, where are the good places to invest your time. That's a huge one, you know, especially if you're doing stuff via like social media. There's so many various different places that you could really spend your time on social media. A lot, you know, there's the big ones everybody hears about, but then there's also a lot of places, you know, like Reddit, or I mean maybe you want to spend a bunch of time interfacing with people on Imgur or something. There's so many places that you can interface with people on the internet. It's very important to understand where is the good place to be trying to reach people at any given time. Things very much so trend inside of social media, and then understanding also what's the effective ways to kind of reach them at that point in time. And really, I think this whole thing crosses over directly into ourselves as well. We go through basically seasons and trends inside of our own life, and at any given time, one story or one perspective that may not have worked at another time, or perhaps would not really like resonate good in the future, it right at that time, it's actually kind of like the perfect thing to hear, that it really makes kind of the functions behind the story or behind whatever it is that you're doing really more understandable. And when we can understand what are really like the core functions that are basically like the building blocks of generating the thing that we want, when we can understand what are the bits and pieces that really make up the identity that really is like holds the space of whatever the idea is or the experience, right? Like it's kind of like a feeling or a space that you're trying to generate, but there's a thing that kind of has that space around it. And if you understand the building blocks of that, which are very much so in a lot of cases something that can just be researched, with ourselves, maybe a little bit more discovery or digging needs to be done. I still think, in a certain way, it benefits very much so from just functionally an effective research process, and that's a place where like coaches and guides or whatever can be very beneficial for us. So, nevertheless, the planning is very, very important to do because, but also then it's a balance, like everything else. You know, too much time spent planning and no time spent doing doesn't ever get anything accomplished. You know what I mean? And very much so just with ourselves as well. We can spend all day kind of like researching different like spiritual approaches or trying out different methodologies, be they ranging from just like types of meditation or like some kind of card reading or maybe like psychedelics or something. And if from those experiences we aren't taking some kind of information that we can integrate into our day-to-day life and have it basically affect us on the very human level, just like it affects our human life every day, then, an argument can be made that that time is not efficiently spent for at least accomplishing something that's going to directly help you here. Maybe you're just getting fun from it or something like that, which is totally fine. I mean, like there's a real big benefit to doing something just because it's fun and not really having any point to it. But when we do this planning, we can ensure that we're approaching places that are really effective to spend our time, be that really in any kind of relationship that we would be having. You know, even if it isn't like the answer isn't, talk to that person, not talk to that person, it's something like a child of ours or something like that. We can determine what are like effective ways and effective spaces in which we can engage specific things, and very much so the same with ourselves. And it really like pays, I think, to kind of like take some liberty to look at basically new ideas or new ways of doing things just to see how it resonates at that certain point in time. I use like a whole bunch of different systems personally, and but I don't use any of them like super strict, right? Like I use them when they're resonating and when it sounds, it just like kind of occurs to me as the right thing to do. But when that's not occurring, then I just kind of let it sit there. I don't force myself to like stick into that specific methodology just because like I started doing it or it's been very beneficial. I think we get an enormous amount of benefit just from this is really like following your intuition or following your heart, right? Like you're just following whatever the feeling is that's telling you to go out to some direction, right? Like that sometimes can be all the plan that you really, really need. But if you're going for something that you're trying to get like a very specific, consistent result, it's good to look in the first place whether or not that's something that other people are already accomplishing or accomplishing some abstract of that, because there'll be many situations where there's no reason to kind of reinvent the wheel. Like they're already doing a bunch of things that work, and you can really just like kind of research them. And this works both on a layer for yourself or for your business or for like you're running some kind of nonprofit, you're trying to get your message out there. You can look at how other things have done the thing that you're trying to accomplish and really get a lot from that. And I urge people all the time, even like whether it's in my personal life or coaching or whatever, to really like take the time to look at those symbols and look at the opportunities, but also balance that with not getting stuck in kind of the analysis paralysis situation where you feel like you have to have this perfect plan. And I think like Jordan Peterson has a really good approach to this, which is basically the idea that like a perfect plan doesn't really exist. And the best part about actually kind of like planning in and of itself is that over the course of trying to enact a plan, the bad parts of the plan always kind of show themselves and give themselves the potential to be weeded out. But you want to make sure that you're going in an efficient direction in the first place, right? Like if you're wandering off into the darkness, even if every sign is showing you like, wait, this isn't the way, it might be because the entire like first choice that you made was a completely wrong thing. So you definitely do need to take some time, planning basically. And if you're trying to get a message out there or you're trying to find yourself, there's a ton of stuff that people have already done, and you can utilize those ways extremely effectively. But if you spend too much time figuring out like what is the right way to do, then you're not really like using a way at all, right? You're just spending some time kind of analyzing like, well, which way should I go? That's the best time to kind of check in with the heart. I just be another time, I stop, check which one feels better, go that way. This is the ideal time to use that, right? Like you don't spend all this time logically analyzing what's the right way to go in that situation. You've already defined these multiple different ways you could go as being something that is the potential for being effective. These are all effectively plans. You don't really you're not going to know which one is the good plan until you actually play them out in most cases. But if you try one of them, the parts of it that are bad will usually get rid of themselves if you're malleable enough to let those things go. A lot of times when we follow some kind of book or we like fall into the mentality of basically the guru, right? Whether it be somebody coaching us or it be some person that talked 500 years ago, it doesn't really matter. When we come into the idea of like the guru, oftentimes we throw the baby in with the bathwater, right? Like it's the opposite of completely wholesaling something out, where we completely wholesale something in. And that's really neither of these are really very effective. There's a saying in hermetics or alchemy is this: all truths are half truths. And maybe we could argue all day about whether it's 50-50 or whatever, and a lot of angles can be taken to potentially argue this too. It always has like a higher dimensional explanation basically that refutes that argument. But nevertheless, the idea being that inside of any truth is also not really truth, right? Like it's just a perspective based thing. Maybe you want to do it this way, or maybe it looked like this to them at that point in time. And it's so shocking to me how often in my life I've been basically interfacing with somebody who I really, really wanted to help a lot. And I was trying like every angle that I could to try and explain something to them. And they just like basically never hear it. And then like 2 months down the road, all of a sudden they watch like some random video on Instagram or something. They're like, oh my gosh, like check out what this guy's saying. And I'm like, man, I've totally been trying to get you to understand that for like 3 months, you know what I mean? And they just couldn't hear it from me, right? It's because they need to find that, like that right story for them. And if you are wholesaled into something, oftentimes you can sit there through a lot of reiterations and you're not really getting the result that you want. So it's very beneficial to allow yourself to be malleable inside of those spaces and allow yourself to not take all of it and not take none of it, but go into it expecting that basically some parts of this are going to be effective, some parts are not going to be effective, but all in all, the most effective thing to do is to start heading into it so that I can get a clearer definition of what parts are effective, what parts are not effective, and how those can be adjusted, the malleability, in order to be more effective than they are right now. If each step keeps going forward with that, then in like the Jordan Peterson-esque sense, you see that a plan, be it potentially even a bad one in the start, as it goes over the time, it gets progressively better and better. And by the time it reaches fruition, you look back and it feels, in a certain sense, like you had a good plan. Really, it's that the plan was good enough, right? But that happens from like analyzing in each step, but not being afraid to move forward with the analysis. This is where our confidence gets called into question a lot. And since I just said the word call in, I'm going to go ahead and call in Aaron to the stream. And, but that is a place where we really do get our confidence checked, that I see a lot of times. Well, that's basically where the problem always lies, is people that I'm working with in this situation. The analysis paralysis always comes from a lack of confidence to take the step, right? So you, instead of taking the step, you choose to like sit outside of it and look at what the step could be. If you're in that position, you really want to get some kind of result, recognize you don't have like enough data from that outside position. And why you're sitting there looking at it so long is probably because you're afraid to take any step. If you can, inside of yourself, take that step without being like completely locked into it, because you know that this next step is just like, this is the best plan I can make right now, and in the next moment I'm going to reformat that plan with whatever I've learned then. It can really ease like the confidence requirement to choose to take that next step. Because like at the end of the day, everybody that you can ever possibly think of that you ever thought was successful, they didn't get to the end result where you would denote their success knowing exactly what to do all the way along. They got questioned in a ton of situations to be like, well, I don't know, like A, B, and C look all right. I'm definitely not a D or E guy, so I'm gonna go with B right now. And then a short ways forward, they're like, like it's actually I need a little bit of the C in here and a little less of this B in certain ways, and they grow over time. When we see them at the end, we kind of like create an effigy of them as though they maybe like had it all figured out, and then they turn into this thing that can potentially be like we're like wholesaling it in, right? Like they have it all
Mm.
figured out. They figured it out, and we're looking at them like post having figured it out, which was a running process. And so they have figured it out only in so much as they put their own personal pieces together. The skill that they leverage to be able to do this is basically what I'm talking about, where you need to have an analysis, but not allow yourself to move forward too long with that analysis by being confident to try something, knowing that you get to analyze and try something new again. And thus, you make a plan. And then the A plan, you find out certain parts were bad. I don't care if you spend like 100 hours making a plan, you're gonna figure out certain parts of this. You're like, okay, well, that was fucking terrible idea, right?
Mm.
And so you need to go into that situation and knowing that like some failure is going to be on the road to success. And I'm going to overcome that failure by analyzing it in the moment and being confident to move forward with what is now looking like the best decision. So
Mm.
don't let your lack of confidence stop you from ever giving yourself the opportunity to have reason to be confident in yourself. Because it very much so is something that's built. If you can't do it in huge swaths right now, you know, test yourself to do it in the swaths that you can, right? Try to step slightly outside of your confidence comfort zone and
Mm.
choose to give yourself that confidence in that moment to make that call, start making the steps for whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Really, humans can do an awful lot of things. The reason why we usually don't is because we aren't confident that we can accomplish the thing that we really do want to do. So we kind of like ease off on it or whatever. Like you can
Mm.
really do whatever you want to do. Pretty much everybody, like we basically in our analytics have no one over like 50 that watches this, with the exception of probably Charlotte, and she already knows this. I know she already knows this. So nevertheless,
Good thing
you
you
know,
clarified.
besides her, I'm pretty sure we don't have anybody that's over the age of like 45 really that watches this. Maybe I'm wrong and YouTube is just reporting the demographics wrong. But that means that you still have like a solid like 30, 40 years left in your life. If you put even 10 years of that to something, you're going to be fantastic at it. So you have like all the time in the world to really sculpt yourself into anything that you want to be, but you got to choose to start making confident steps forward at the level that you can engage with right now. Like you don't walk into the gym and start bench pressing 560 pounds, right? Like you go in there and you bench press the amount that you can lift and you work
All
up
right.
to that same thing.
So speaking of analytics, our analytics have gone more in favor. We're nearly at 86% female viewers and 14. So even based on what Zach was saying, so if we're already attracting that audience, we know what our target market is. So we're gonna create clips or things in a way that would at least reach those who we know are already going to get them, and then expanding out if we have other avenues that we think will attract more. But naturally, that's what we're attracting. But a lot of that could be Jen and different dynamics. But so it depends on it's not just our show, but all the other shows and all the different dynamics that go involved. Hmm?
Yeah, well,
Hear
even
me?
just
There you
watching from our like the chat, right? Like you can take a
go. Right,
basically a
right.
simple demographic from the chat, and we
Yeah.
we have a handful of guys in there,
Hmm.
and like, but there's more girls
Can
than
we name
guys.
them? We got Joe, we got Jacob, we have Chris, I think,
Kevin,
that shows up every so
Frank,
often. Kevin's there all the time.
Robert.
Frank's pretty regularly. I know Frank said he listens to most episodes. He's just like doing other shit, but he listens. He just tunes in. So
Yep.
he's there a lot of times.
Sick.
But yeah, we did name, we named a few. We probably named a lot more of the women. I mean, they're just, let's see, are there any guys in the chat right now? Nope. Or at
Joe
least not on
was
screen.
earlier.
Joe was, yeah.
So, uh,
Joe bounces in every so often for like one-liners, then he's gone.
yes. And speaking of guys in the chat, Jacob is going to be on Jen's show tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Cool.
playing some of his new flutes and stuff, and I even think he has like new recording gear and such, so maybe even higher quality than before. So make sure to
Let
tune
me
in and
let
check
me
that
show
out.
you for a promo on that show with a visual picture overlay that I took. I was there this weekend for Solstice Fire, and got to play his new flute, and it's really cool looking. I got a picture if I can find it. Oh man,
Flautistry. I've been
flautistry.
trying to figure out how to work flutes into drum and bass without just like chopping notes out, which seems
Right,
like that's not what I want to do. I want to actually have like somebody be able to like rip a 64 bar solo over the top of a whole song. You know what I
right.
mean? And
Yeah, yeah.
like so that they can even like, create, you know, 16, like an 8 bar lead in, 16 bars of a real like they're really kicking it. And,
Mm-hmm.
like then like 16 bars of like a bridge that's like more ambient or whatever, and then kicking it for another 16 bars or whatever, so they actually get like a big space to work. And you
Right.
can, because like electronic music can easily get really, really loopy, meaning that
Mm.
like the things like 8 or 16 bars, the song's like 100 bars long. By the time you get to the end of the song, you're very much so realizing that the drums went boop boop chick boop boop chick boop 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 chick, like it got very
Like,
loopy, right?
right, right,
And
right.
you want that at a certain level, right? Like it's real solid in your rhythm section a lot of the time to have something kind of like that. And it's good to have something that kind of just always keeps time, especially if you want to make your music danceable. It's good to have a noticeable sound right on the downbeat all the time. So on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, so that it can be followed very easy, even by like kind of an amateur ear. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's
Yeah, yeah,
good for the club or for, well, the
yeah, yeah,
amateur
yeah,
dancer, right? And like
yeah, yeah,
really at the end of the day, when you're making music, if you really want music to be good, you want to make it so that like a DJ puts it on and then he mixes it in, and that goes very well. And then when it comes to like the big crescendo, everybody's like, "This is fucking amazing," because that's what gets it played again and again and again and again,
yeah.
right?
No,
And
it makes
so
sense. Yeah.
like you
It's
want
like
to
it's
keep
finding a
things like this
hook
in
for
mind.
different people, for different viewers. They find their own hook.
The
That's something
whole
that to them
reason they
pulls them
call it
in.
a hook, it's
Yeah, no
actually
doubt.
called a chorus, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they call it a hook because people generally latch on to the
Yep.
chorus.
It's like, ooh, what's
But
this? Yeah,
and
you get
also
hooked.
like especially inside of like hip hop and R&B, the
Hmm.
lyrics inside of the verses are usually like a lot more complex, and then the chorus is like something that everyone can remember. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So,
and it's
but that,
enjoyable to hear. So, okay,
yeah.
on a chat note, so the shrooms are hitting. So Willa's in there, and we're talking about music, which is a great topic. But it made me think of, so like encouraging people to hold space for someone in a situation like that. How would you explain that, or suggest that, or articulate that?
Um,
Like right
well,
now, for example, for Willa.
unless the person asks me to do that for them, I would not do it at
Hmm.
all. Well, I would not do it without requesting consent first. I think a
Excellent
lot,
first step.
and that's a
Yep.
I quick
Otherwise, it's
tangent. I think
do it, do
people
it,
are
do it.
very pushy with their energy a lot, and in certain places that does not go good for you. And
Yeah,
nevertheless, so if they didn't ask me, I wouldn't.
yeah,
If I wanted to, though, anyways, unlikely, I would ask first.
yeah.
And then, in the event that for some reason they're like, "Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, please hold space for me." Um, really, so are we talking about like remotely? Like, if I was to hold space specifically for Willow right now,
Yeah,
can
in
we
this
use that
specific
as like a,
example. Yeah,
okay? Well, really,
it's a
in
great
that
example.
kind of situation, um, if I was really serious about it, then I would actually do some kind of meditation right
Hmm.
away that would basically try to entangle myself and them. And then basically the idea would be that I would try to act out what would be like a calm, blissful,
Okay, so
balanced state
sorry,
during
go ahead.
that time, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So is really, especially with psychedelics, I don't I don't think it's good to navigate their trip at all or
Totally.
try and like have any real intentions with it.
Hmm.
So I try to stay away from the intention by just leaning into feeling and I don't even
Mm,
like talk about the feeling or think about the feeling. I act out the feeling. So if I'm holding space for them, I'll keep myself very calm. Like I'll even like if something's going crazy in my life, I'll like make sure to step away from it, and then I
mhm.
kind of do things to purposely entangle myself with them, of which there are a billion mechanics that a person could use.
Yeah.
Really just like even Zach, can you hold space for me, please? And I'm like, yes. It's already started. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
in that situation, obviously, I appreciate you asking for consent about that. We can be pushy in the reverse. You know what I mean? We can just like call
Mm,
people into our space, right?
yeah.
And that I think that does actually have an effect on their energy. And
Yeah.
so, really, the basic function though, I would entangle with them, and then I would basically act out a calm and relaxed mindset for the duration of their trip, and keep myself basically just chilling. Try to stay
Yeah.
very chill and not like if I get hit with impulses, I will look at it in the sense that I'm having their experience, right? So
Mm.
they're getting some kind of rough impulse. I'm helping them not freak out, for lack of a better word, by not freaking out myself because I'm
Mm.
purposely holding in the same space
So you're
with
giving them a
them.
resonance to tune into, basically. Like you're tuning up the amplitude of a
Yeah,
calm
like you talk
resonance.
about the you can't feel something that you haven't felt before.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
creating like making sure that there's an anchor in their entanglement of the feeling that would be ideal for navigating the space rather
Yeah,
than
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
navigating to where they're supposed to go, right?
Yeah.
So I have no
Yeah.
fucking idea where they're supposed to go. Hopefully they're supposed to go somewhere
Right.
I've never imagined, and they'll
Yeah.
come back and they'll be like, "You got to hear about this," and I'm like, "What's up?" And they tell me, and I'm like,
Totally.
so I totally needed to hear about this. Like,
Right.
hopefully that's what happens. I don't want to navigate their space because I truly believe they already know somewhere to go
Right.
that's probably significantly more effective or profound
So and this is
than what I
like,
could bring to them.
okay, I want you to please keep going if there's things you want to say. There's so many things I just want to drive off of with that, but
That does it. Go for it, man.
right. Um, so man, okay, so one of the things you said that like if you've already the quest has been there, it's already begun. So where attention goes, energy flows. When something comes into your awareness, energy is going there. Now, if you already
Yeah.
have an additional connection, there's been a request to hold space, all those processes that Zach externalized that probably have micro moments and this kind of unconscious at this point or subconscious ways you interact and engage with people at a subroutine level, if you will. But then
Hmm.
the difference between sending energy or sending focus. That's why when we do prolonged focuses on a subject, again, the Greg Braden, I think, and Joe Dispenza talk about the neuroscience of 70 in the 72-hour focus on a subject creates new protein receptor antennas on your cells to actually take in that thing you're trying to find a resonance with.
Hmm.
So I imagine potentially even in that. So if you were someone who's never felt love before, right, or never seen what maybe say, I don't know, you only like grow up and maybe you're younger, whatever. This is where movies can be detrimental and beneficial. But if you've never experienced what a loving relationship between parents was before, and you find it through a movie, through friends, through just searching on the internet or watching videos, but the intention or the goal is like to perceive what a loving, like healthy relationship's like, and see if they're like from seeing what they feel, see if you can actually feel that feeling state. And after 72 hours, even though like you may not feel it, right? Because you can't feel it. It's just a fucking movie. You get it, but you don't feel it.
Right.
But then maybe focusing on that, it can generate, even on TV, in your own, just focusing on the subject, right? Deep meditation,
Hmm.
if you will, that you can create a feeling state out of nowhere, but it's because it is there. It's just far away from your neurology. It's far away from your experience. So it takes more either an encounter with someone in a moment, if you will, or over time, or a focused meditation or pursuit.
Yeah. I think of this in like an attractive sense, in the sense that like when I
Yeah, yeah.
focus on something, I kind of set a magnetic resonance and it starts attracting that thing to me. But if like I've never known any concept of love, I'm literally ignorant of the concept of love, and I'm like, I want to feel love. I start attracting it, but like the real lesson of it is a ways out. Like it takes a long time to come in and even present itself.
Well,
You
and
know what I
think
mean?
about okay, the attracting versus and us being a receiver. So if our consciousness is being projected into this vessel and that dynamic that that we're more than just what you've heard rodent studying, what you see physically around you. I mean, even electromagnetic fields. We've talked about all these things. So let's just go with that. presumption, I guess, this thought process. So if we're being projected in with our neurology or our will, we choose to focus on a thing for 72 hours. What it does in our physiology is create these antenna receptors because that signal has always been there. Like love's all around you. It's all right there. It's right there. It's like, yeah, well, fuck you. I can't feel that shit. So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
it's almost like a statement like it doesn't help. But if you're creating the magnetic focus because you're focusing on it, and it doesn't necessarily need to be deep meditation. I think, like I said, it's just throughout the day on my phone all day. I'm looking at like Fibonacci sequence spirals and stuff, just different GIF images and stuff, just all day. I'm still doing other things, but really, I mean, the majority of my focus and even subconscious throughout that whole day is on that thing. And there are definitely new states of like getting it or embodying it that happened after 72 hours. And
Sure.
so you create the antennas that receive the electric signal or the waves that are there, but the magnetic state is pulling it in. Or Joe Dispenza says the feelings are the thoughts are the prayers, and the feelings, what is it? The thoughts are electric and feelings are magnetic.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. Thoughts?
I mean, I guess that would kind of make sense. I mean, I don't have any reason to argue against it. I definitely think about it, like I said, I'm the attractive sense on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
That like
Well,
yeah,
so
and
think,
I guess I would say like if magnetism is the inverse of electricity, electromagnetism, we have two functions, right?
yeah.
So then the electro would functionally be like the probing outwards, uh, and the magnetism would be the attractive force on
Right,
the other
right.
side of
Yeah.
this. And I think like we kind of like probe out towards something basically like, hey, I want you to come here. And that's like a thought or an imagination about
Yeah.
it. But depending on how far away it is, it takes time to basically flow into our experience then. But like if we do keep that good focus on it, it's just like a very clear request to your reality, that you want that thing, I think.
Yeah. So the whole focus thing. So if like, yes, we have access to infinite everythingness at any point we want to. Well, how do you get it? I mean, you start with focus. Like if you want it, you will find the things that are the roadblocks. If you focus on it. And if there's few things in this life we can choose to do, I mean, even we're directed subconsciously in advertising or upbringing, et cetera, et cetera. There's a level of conscious choice. I can choose to sit and meditate, I mean, for a cliche example, or I can
Mm-hmm.
choose to go do this other thing. And so the more we choose things that are within a bandwidth or degree of focus,
Yeah.
eventually your whole life, depending on what that focus is, will reorient around that focus eventually.
Yeah.
And like the Jordan Peterson thing, it's not just a linear deal. It's like all over. It's just over
Right.
time, you're linear.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, you can map it as a progressive angle when you're done. But
or
that
pan
has some
out.
backtracking and shit.
It's like, okay, like this. We talk about this all the time. Like you're going to get there, right? So pan out. Oh shit, this is gonna fall over. I'm trying to block the sun. It was better before, now it's come off the window. I'm all silhouetted again. Anyway, so you pan out and you see your life from beginning to end. Oh, you made it. Like just know you made it. Wherever you're
Yeah,
going, you made it. Right? You made it.
sure.
So like if we can really just when shit's really bad, like this is helpful for me to process through right now, certain things, just pan the fuck out. You made it. It's all right. You made it. Now,
Yeah.
yeah, you zoom in a little bit. This shit's a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look like it's going there. You gotta zoom out, right? And then zoom in and do the daily steps. That can be the hard part sometimes, but also I think if you get caught in the daily steps, it's just too much. It can look like backwards. It can look like bad. It can look like pain. But if
Yeah.
fuck, okay, pan the fuck out, chill out.
There's a
Yeah.
bunch of different things that have happened basically like recently, at least in my life, like where I would say that there's kind of a collective message coming through, however you want to understand that. I mean, Neptune going into retrograde insinuates it in a certain way, and but then
What's
also
Nep-
then
what's
like
Neptune associated with? Just for those who don't know, like myself, readily
Neptune's
available.
basically like the crown chakra of the universe is usually
Mm.
what it's called, but it's really so spiritualism is attached to
Mm.
it a lot, but that a lot of times looks like better understanding of self or more objective understanding of self. And
Yeah, panning
but
out.
a lot of time, so Neptune retrograde, how it's associated to this is that it's to like take an objective look back on yourself and like have gratitude for what you've already accomplished.
Mm.
And like I've also had this pop up in a whole bunch of other basically symbol ways like tarot cards and animal cards and shit like this, where you're getting like the same kind of message that's like make sure that you're taking time to be like, show respect and honor what you've already all that you've already accomplished up to this point, rather than being like, sometimes we need to be hard on ourselves on accomplishing the next thing. Sometimes we need to take the time to go like, all right, dude, you've like, I mean, shit ain't perfect yet, but you've come so far. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many steps that have been accomplished. And if we can bounce into that space when we're supposed to, we can get, I mean, this is the whole thing of like astrology and watching transits, is it kind of tells you that like at that point in time, it's more efficient to focus on that. Like, you're going to get a better return. So it's almost like watching astrology by transits is almost kind of like predicting the stock market in a certain way. Not that
Oh
like you're going
yeah.
to make money out of it, but that you can read what's going to happen and then figure out how it is more efficient to put your energy at that
Well,
point
it's
in
like,
time.
well, at the same time, I think it's JP Morgan who's quoted for saying, if you want to be rich, if you want to be a billionaire, be behind this playing stock market or I don't know something, but if you want to be a billionaire, get an astrologer. When I read that, I was like, what? That's before I
Yeah.
really understood astrology. So like, just as a stupid offshoot dynamic, but is that
Yeah.
better? Nice. It's
I
better.
mean,
Okay.
people don't think about it, but most of the people that are like rulers of countries have always kind of had astrologers that worked with them, and it's just been
Six
a
thousand
thing
years written
that
history.
happens all over, So there is correlations that can definitely be drawn. There is things about transits especially that really, well, like I was saying, they tell us how to more efficiently utilize our energy at that point in time. And at the end of the day, you really do want efficient utilization of energy for your work because it gives you more time to fuck off and do whatever you want. That's the whole reason why you want that. Like, everybody wants to have fun,
Right.
right? Like, who the fuck actually wants to do all of this work? Let's get real. No one actually wants to do this work. We want the result, right? We deal with
Yeah.
our trauma because we want the result of not fucking having it. We don't deal with it because it's like, hey, you know what I want to do with my life? I want to fucking deal with a whole shitload of trauma. Like, who the fuck would say that? That's ridiculous. So we're trying to have fun. And by making sure that we're efficiently outlaying our energy, which can be done through either the planning that I was talking about before or by utilizing mechanics to plan that. Like, right, in this specific situation, we're talking about using the transits of astrological objects as seen through basically geocentric astrology. This we can utilize this to understand what are the most effective ways to outlay our energy on the planetary level, right? Like,
Yeah.
well, the most commonly known one kinda in this angle of things is Mercury retrograde causes communication problems. If you got something important to talk about that you don't want to go wrong, Mercury retrograde probably ain't the time to do it. You know,
Mm.
that's not a wholesale truth. It actually does depend on basically what Mercury was doing when they were born, right? So if Mercury is naturally retrograde, they will, like in their natal chart, they will function better in communication when Mercury is retrograde. If Mercury was direct in their natal chart, then they're the standard, oh, Mercury is in retrograde, my life's getting
Oh
fucked up
yeah.
kind of concept. This has, like, these differences aren't wholesale always true. You definitely have to take into account what was in their natal chart. And they're also not even just like as straightforward as it's the like I made out with this Mercury one right here.
Oh shoot, because I was just about to look
You know
mine
what I
up to
mean?
see.
I mean, it's not that straightforward, right? There's just more nuance to it
Yeah,
than
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying it very like vague like that.
Right, right.
Which, uh, I mean, I do have a foreign accent. I'm from Earth, and this place is weird, so it's quite
It's
foreign.
true. I'll go with that answer. That's a great one.
I mean, have you seen this place recently?
Yeah,
Yikes.
hello.
So,
Yikes, man. All these
anyways,
people are wearing masks too. It's weird. What are they doing?
yeah, I I don't know.
Silly. It's
It
like
seems very safe.
I was thinking that another dynamic Donamir metaphor, excuse me, sorry, is like a double bounce on trampoline, right?
Hmm.
So I've hit a double bounce hard. And it's like shit. And there's still like a couple bounces. Everybody's bouncing everything, and your life is still bouncing around you. That's good. Stop. Look how far you've come. Right.
Hmm.
See, look, there's other shit that's still in harmony. You just kind of something came and knocked you on your ass, right? But if you've been a trampoline, that dynamic, you find the bounce off your ass to bounce back up into rhythm.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that metaphor. That's helpful. And I
And
think even
it's
part of that is like,
interesting to think about also too. You're using a double bounce metaphor. how like the way to skyrocket yourself off of a trampoline is to hit the double bounce right,
Right.
you
Okay.
know,
So you're
and
hitting the
maybe you
double
didn't
bounce,
get
but
knocked
you,
down yet. You're just taking some shock on your knees. You know, the moment is still
yeah.
there to hit the double bounce right.
Ooh, good. Yeah,
And, you
yeah,
know, really what you're looking for from the double bounce is you want to basically recoil all of that difficult stuff into this like projection forward. So you're really looking to get launched by that thing.
yeah,
But also sometimes in the process of that happening, you know, the universe catch you with a real tricky one and it breaks your ankle. You know, what I mean, you hit the hospital because your ankle's
yeah.
broken now.
That's true.
So
Yeah, that definitely can fit too. It's
yeah,
just so I think part of that is like I don't know. I mean, I could dive into that metaphor too. Like it's nice when metaphors can be expanded more and they still apply. So like even if you're on the ground, so one, it's a choice to. So again, I mean, I think we've talked about this on the show a lot of times. I know I've talked about it a lot, and I thoroughly am ingrained with this for sure. Like one, if you don't quit, you win because you've already won. You know, so why quit?
sure.
And then this quote I read last night about the heart. It was like the mind can conceptually can understand wholeness conceptually or something, but only the heart can experience it. So our reward, if we don't quit, is that we get to not just understand wholeness, we get to feel it. I think is
Mm,
the end of that, you know. And then for though a right walking man falls 7 times, he rises again, or woman. But what makes him right walking? He just fucking gets up, man. The end of the Captain Marvel, not Marvel. What's the one? Yeah, Captain. Yeah, Marvel, I think. But that was the biggest thing there. I mean, like, I cried during that part. She literally got up. The biggest thing you see this thing through her whole life. She kept getting up, right? And she ended up
yeah,
kicking everybody's ass and winning and all that good shit. But like, she
yeah.
kept getting up.
Have you ever
So
seen the movie Snatch?
is that the one with Brad Pitt when
Yeah,
he's a pikey? Oh
yeah,
yeah, I love that one.
yeah. Like
I've seen it like two or
that,
three times, but yeah,
the first scene where you like meet him and then he fights their big boxer guy.
yeah,
Like that scene is for me like it couldn't get any more impactful on the idea of like you just keep getting up. You know what I mean? It's all about doing the
yeah,
right thing like once. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's just like, oh, I love it, dude. I've watched
yeah.
that scene I don't know 250 times. Love
I'm
it.
stoked to watch it now. Yeah, no,
It's like
look that one up.
it evokes a feeling. I don't know how
Yeah,
well it would do for
feeling.
86% of our. I don't know how much like women resonate with
Probably
that,
wouldn't.
but some
A
of them
few.
do. Some of
Yeah, I
them
was saying
do.
no, no.
I
I was
mean,
about.
don't
I
get me
take it
wrong.
back, man. There's a
I've
few.
met
I
some
take that
girls in
back.
my life that knocked out a lot more dudes than
Oh, I
most
know
dudes
some. I
I've
have
ever
some.
met in my
I know
life.
some badass chicks in our group too. It just dawned on me. No, that's now some chicks that would fit for sure.
So
But the
yeah,
feeling state, right? So that for you, well, through a movie, like you create a feeling state in you
yeah,
that you still use to this day. Fuck
sure,
yeah,
yeah.
it's all it's about, man.
Yeah, I
Feelings.
mean, even terminologies inside of it too. Like they can
Do
easily
it.
become mantra and stuff. Well, just the
Mhm.
idea of like, no, you stay until the job's done. You know, he ends
Right?
up
Yeah, yeah,
saying to him when the guy's like, this is sick. I'm out of here, and he goes to like walk away, and he gets lifted up, and he's like, you stay until the job's done. You know, like,
mm,
what are you doing?
yeah.
So, nevertheless, I've always kind of like been that way. You know, once I start working on something, like I'm way into it, and I just like keep doing it. If it can be finished today, I'm probably just gonna keep going. You know, like
Yeah.
so I just really resonated with that. Plus, also like I have gypsy blood, so that helps.
Yeah, you look a little.
So.
You look like you got a little pikey in you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about probably. I have like Black Irish and Scottish
Well,
from
I've
there, but
seen
then
you with your shirt off. You look like Brad Pitt in that movie. Yeah, pretty much.
sure. Yeah, if I had like a couple tattoos and shit, and
Yep.
maybe like a little less of a bird chest, it'd be pretty good.
Yep. You just got to
So
throw a few blows.
yeah, do like a lot of push-ups. That's always been my thing. If I did put a bunch of push-ups, I would probably like be all right. But I fucking hate push-ups. They're not that fun.
Hmm.
What's the point, right? Like you just every once in a while I'm gonna
You could
crawl
be
down
like
on the
Brad
ground.
Pitt.
I don't know. It just it's hard for me.
I know it. I know it. I know the reasons. I did sports and all that stuff. I loved it when I did it. When I'm in
I
that
love it
season,
in sports, you know what I mean? But I don't want to like hit the gym. I've never been like the hit the
right?
weights to get better at the sport guy. I was like I'll
Yeah,
go
yeah.
put in
Play
more
the sport.
hours training at the sport. Yeah. That's where that's where I needed to get better in climbing too. Was I needed to put more time towards like specifically training shit
Hmm.
and like yeah. I don't know. It pays to
Well, I
be willing to
remember.
just like do the boring thing over and over and over again, just get massive repetition. It really
Well, like,
pays.
so I found efficiency in it. Like, well, I don't know if it's an Aries thing and all that other Arcturian, I mean, all that stuff, all the things. I don't know, whatever. Um, but when I get into something, right, I master that shit because I thoroughly enjoy it. Usually
Right.
when I dive in, it's just you saturate those things. So like learning like hit training. That was when I was really studying like the science of the body. So you can get done, an hour workout, an hour jog, an hour run in like 8 minutes or 12
Mm.
minutes, whatever, 20, actually 20 for 20 to 60 on that. But you can do like a 20-minute workout in eight. And anyway, so high intensity interval training, if you use free weights as much as possible, it engages a massive more amount of percentage of your other surrounding muscles. And
Mm.
then a lot of the cardio and stuff you do in fun ways, right? Basketball, played a lot of basketball, but it's all like being like gym time, if you will, but then outdoor stuff or
Yeah.
calisthenics or whatever. But plyometrics, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I had
So,
no
but true.
problem like hitting the gym all day long when I was climbing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
when you had something to apply it to,
yeah,
I
like
got you. You got something to
just
apply
going
it
to
to.
the weight gym. I'm just like, why
Yeah,
am I
yeah, I got
picking up
you.
this heavy stuff just to put it back down? Like this
Oh, yeah,
doesn't
no doubt.
my brain just
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah, yeah.
compute it right. And push-ups are the same thing. It's just my own
Oh.
body is the heavy stuff.
All right, we're gonna deal with me being in the sunlight because that is an incredible sunset. Oh. Yeah, it's fun to just get into things like that though, and then getting into like really building up my body, like stripping down as much body fat as I could, and then building up to as much strength as I could, and going from like, even that dynamic, what mattered in high school or back then of, um, I think I could bench like 205 once or twice when I started, and I weighed like 210, 220, something like that. And then by the end of it, I was able to do like 285, like 10 times, like 10 reps. And that was it. When I hit that, I was like, all right, I don't need to get any bigger. I don't ever need to get bigger. I hit
I
my,
don't
I hit where
ever
I'm,
need to
I'm,
get any bigger.
I'm happy with
Ever.
where my body got. I got big. I like the way it felt, but then I stripped down again, lost like 60 pounds. And like, it feels way better. And not that I'm in shape now, but like, my point is, I know what like working out for the sake of working out looks like. I enjoyed it.
Mm.
Done. Finished that when I was like 20. I'm like,
Yeah.
nope, I know what my body can do. Don't care. I just want to find the balance or like whatever. The point of being fit or feeling good that way, you know?
Yeah.
Not that I do, but that's the
I
goal.
I don't care enough either. that's,
Right.
that's how I feel about that. That's really just like another way of saying like I just don't care enough about that, you know.
Yeah.
And I really just don't. I think about it sometimes, but then I think about doing other stuff too.
Yeah. I would. See, like, I've been bugging Nate forever. Like, we had to go to the gym together. I got to talk to us before. We got sparring gloves for each other for Christmas. And so, like, I'm not motivated enough to go on my own. I just bug the shit out of him. Hopefully, he'll eventually do it. When he does, well, we'll
Mm,
get in a routine, man. It'll be great. It'll be
it
fun because we
helps.
get to hang out. Like, and we're getting in shape. He knows how to do, what's the word? Like UFC type stuff, what's hand to hand
MMA
shit, whatever. Yeah,
basically.
MMA. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, yeah. So teach me some of that and whatever. So like in that dynamic, love to work out, but there's so much more than just working out in that way,
Hmm. Yeah. I could maybe get into like jujitsu or something.
Yeah, really something. Anything. I'm open, man. If anybody's in the area, Jacob, Michael Britt, I don't know if he's in the show, but like there's a bunch of people in the area. Like if we do something like that, I'm down, man. Once a week, once a
Yeah.
month.
I was really more like talking about like actually going to like a class where there's good people that will
Oh,
whip my ass
that's what I
hard.
mean. 100%. That's what I mean. Like we can go together. I'm not motivated quite enough to do my own, but like if that's what we're
Yeah.
gonna do, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've thought about doing that for sure. That might give me a reason to do push-ups.
Precisely. And that's just kind of a fun thing to add to your life because I feel like I've always
I mean,
felt better when
I've
I'm
been in a
working out.
couple fights, and I can tell you, I don't really like getting my fucking ass beat. It's not very fun. I can tell you that
Yeah.
much.
Let's hope
So
those days are over. That's the ideal for life. But if not, it's always nice to be very thoroughly prepared, knowing your actual muscle memory, what it's like to be in those
yeah,
situations.
I mean, but if you're going and you're like deciding to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu as a hobby or something, you have
Mm.
reintroduced a very real situation of where you will be getting your ass beat again in your life at some point in time. It's not the same way as it was before, where everybody's like fucking mad and like, "What you fucking talk to my girlfriend?" You know, or some crazy shit like this. But you're like making it very real that like just as a mechanic of training, I'm about to get my ass beat about like hundreds of fucking times. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I love
Like
that.
it's gonna take forever, dude. Like everybody, every martial art I've ever fucked with at all, everyone that comes into it thinks they're gonna be a hell of a lot better than they are, dude. Like it's a
Yeah.
long fucking road.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Totally. See, I get that. Like, I get when I dive into things, you start at the beginning and you learn that shit. But the point
yeah,
is, the desire to have that in your muscle memory or your experience
yeah,
overrides. It doesn't even become like work. It is work, man. But you're in it. You fucking love that shit.
yeah,
The work isn't work. It's fucking great, even though it's
yeah.
awful, puking, whatever. Like, it's great though.
That's what I'm saying. Like that might get me to do the push-ups or go to the gym or something because I'd be
Yeah.
going in there and I'd be getting my ass beat and I'd be in situations where I was like, if I was stronger right there, I feel like I could have got out of that situation, man. I really
Yeah.
need to do something about this, or I'm just gonna keep getting my ass beat by
Which is
Dennis.
funny because then it's the balance of like believing what we believe about the ability to connect the kinesthesiology of our mind to our body and spirit and whatever, and amplifying movements and all that kind of shit. But that, again, is practice. But also there comes a dynamic where no, it's not technique, it's not this. I literally need to be stronger. I have
Oh,
to build my
there's a lot
muscles.
of moving
I need to be
energy or
stronger.
interrupting the movement of energy, but like you're saying, like there's also you could just be stronger.
Right. Yeah. It's like I could spend 10 hours doing this, or I could spend 1 hour strengthening my muscles. So they'll probably
Yeah.
achieve the same results, but
Yeah, I mean, like realize like Bruce Lee, he wasn't the most enormous dude on the planet, but when you looked at him, you're like, that dude's strong. You
yeah.
knew he was strong. So
Don said I'm 98 pounds, so I run. Good idea, Don.
yeah, I mean, like
Unless he
if you
learns some
if
of these
you're
other things.
98 pounds, you might not even need to run. I mean, that's pretty low.
Just duck, crawl under the
just,
legs.
just, just hang out. So how much weight try to lose? That's one method of obtaining ethereality. You literally just work out until you disappear.
Some people have tried, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty close to it. I don't
Yeah.
know what I weigh, but it ain't much more than a paperweight. That's for sure. So, if
You
the
wouldn't have to
stack
run
of
from
paper was big
Zach.
enough, I probably couldn't hold it down.
Mm,
So, anyways, paperweights
yeah.
aside, I am actually gonna blow out of here though. I got other stuff that I want to do. So,
Yeah, that's
love you
cool.
guys
Let's call
very
it night.
much,
I think that was a pretty
and
dense hour.
thanks for joining us here for this hour of power or
Yeah.
flowers,
Yeah. All
whichever
of the
one you
above.
want. On
Yeah.
expanded understanding. We'll be back tomorrow, 4 o'clock with Jen. She has Jacob on her show doing
Cool.
some flautistry, new recording, new flutes, great people from the community. So that'll be a good one to catch. And then we'll be back at 8 o'clock also tomorrow night. And we really appreciate having you here.
Yes, you do.
And yeah, I asked earlier before everybody came in, actually, though, what do you find fun about spirituality or exploring yourself? And what I'm asking with this is what modalities of exploring yourself, like tarot, these kinds of whatever, witchcraft, I don't know, whatever you find as fun modalities that you actually get enjoyment out of doing that. We would love to hear in the comments what kind of modalities you find fun like that, so that we can generate content circulating around those to hopefully inspire ideas or just more enjoyment inside of your life. If you're interested in those kind of things, or if you have some ideas, please help us out in the comments, subscribe to the channel so that you can check out our other shows. And if you like what you see here, share it. Make sure to come back. Check out the other social media stuff in the description below. We love you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Bye.